Hey, you are back with Harrison and Olivia for podcast number whatever, and
It's
we're
like
gonna
9, maybe.
I think so. It's not like I say whatever, like it's been this huge
It's
number.
episode number next. That's what you need
next.
to know.
Oh,
We're
yes.
next.
And okay, so we're just gonna dive right in. I know that today some of the pieces that we're gonna cover is I'd asked some. I'd posted it on Facebook and said, hey, what should I ask Harrison? What should we talk about? And I got some really cool, I got a couple of good questions. And
Why, yes, I am single and Monroe's most eligible bachelor.
love it. And you can reach him at, any of the signs around town has his phone number.
No, that's, you got to go through my bodyguards, Jade, Hammy, Jennifer, Megan, Melinda.
If you put it in the comments, I will make sure. I'll vet and I'll make sure he gets to you.
Yeah, somebody told me I couldn't be a bachelor if I had been married previously.
I don't know the.
I'm not rolling with that rule.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
You have Google right there. Ask Google. Let's find out.
I love this. Okay, so.
Yeah, one day we're going to progress in this podcast, and we're going to have somebody to be like to fact check us.
Do we not have
Connor?
Okay, yeah. We have someone. We've just got to implement. So, can you be
a bachelor if you have been previously married, or maybe if you've been divorced? Maybe that would be correct.
A bachelor is a man who is not and never has been married.
Shit.
So you're just eligible.
I'm an eligible not so bachelor.
Yes. I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
Oh, you're a divorcee.
I'm a divorcee.
A man who has been married but then divorced is called a divorcee.
That sounds fancy.
Well, that sounds like when I say it about you, like you're a divorcee, that almost sounds like very Southern for, that's a divorcee.
I think he's a sleazebag.
That's a divorcee.
Yeah.
Like I could see that somebody saying that about a woman. That's a divorcee. So can I be? What would I be if I'm not
a bachelorette?
A bachelorette. I'm an eligible bachelorette.
Bachelorette.
No, I can't. Bachelorette.
Well, if success leaves clues, hang out with me and Olivia, and we'll teach you how not to be married.
That's right. How to be single.
Yeah.
Let's see. Whoa. A divorced man may still be considered a bachelor if he is interested in marriage and ready to move into society where marriage is possible.
Okay, not a bachelor. We figured that
Divorcee.
out. I am a divorcee.
Figured it out.
Proudly now.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so the questions that we were looking at or asking was, and interesting enough, was there were some really great questions around investing. Mm-hmm. And you actually just did an investment that you were telling us about on Friday. Mm-hmm. And you said that a lot of people these days are coming to you to talk about investing. Mm-hmm. So before I ask you the question, I'd like to hit that a couple more times. I'd like to hear what's the new thing? What did you invest in?
Yeah. So really cool. I got and this is why Google and Zillow reviews are so important if you're a realtor. So there is a really wealthy developer.
If you're a business owner.
Google
reviews are very, very important. If you're a realtor, Google reviews and Zillow.
Yeah. But a very successful developer had a piece of real estate in Ruston that he was wanting to offload because he had an investment opportunity. Because he didn't want to miss out on his investment opportunity, he put a really nice price on this piece of property. And at first, so I'll just be very blunt, is $1 million piece of property, and it had a $50,000 commission on it. He was very gracious with this commission. Like, he understood, like, nothing moves until someone sells it. He does understand, because when I heard, at first when he called me, I'm like, dude, I get these calls all the time from somebody who wants to offload something for too expensive and they don't want to pay us. I'm not interested. Call the next bozo.
Yeah, like it's somebody that's like, it's an investment property. I'm like, you get if it's an investment property, you've got to sell it at an investment price.
That's right.
Because the whole point is like, you can only buy an investment if there's a profit to be made now or in the future.
That's right.
Not like one day in this magical fairyland.
Yeah. But he understood entirely. Like, A, willing to pay me. B, like, after I looked at the financials of the deal, I was like, oh crud, this is a really good deal. So I shop it out to some of my private clients, the ones who have like big money to spend, because you're going to put 15 to 20% down. You need $150,000, $200,000 to put down. I have a very select group that can afford that. So, we go through our private clients who support us exclusively first, and start calling them. And
relationships matter.
That's right. I was about to make somebody a lot of money. And so called a few. One was interested and had the cash on hand. After getting into the risk of the deal, it just wasn't for them. And I was sitting there, and it wasn't just the commission that made me hot and heavy on it. I was like, dude, this is a good deal. Like, this is
it all has to match
I have
up.
bought things that were not anywhere near this good. And so I wrote an LOI on it myself, made it assignable, so that if one of my private clients...
LOI for people that...
it's a letter of intent outlining the terms of a future contract, so that we can just kind of move forward together with a broad terms, and then with the contract, we'll get very specific after a due diligence period. And so I sent over a LOI to the seller, and I made it assignable because I have a commitment. I do not compete against my agents, and I do not compete against my business partners. I also do not compete against my clients. So I wanted to make sure that my relationships were protected. I think I gave them 3 or 4 days to let me know if they were interested, and they just called me and they said, hey, like, the risk isn't for us, so we're just going to back out. And I was like, cool, I'm buying it. So I actually I partnered up with one of my business partners. And so this is a really cool thing. I want to talk about some like life hacks as an investor.
I think that would be huge.
Yeah, realtor. So the deal, it's $1 million flat. Like, he wasn't accepting $999,999. Like, it was $1 million or don't buy it. Got to have a 15% down payment with my lending organization. So that's $150K. And I was like, I don't really want to let go of that kind of money right now. Like, I got the R2 building finishing right now. I got my next appraisal and perm out on that coming up. I don't know what that means for me financially just yet until I get the appraiser out there. And so I partnered up on it. Well, here's the fun part. I can use my commissions as a down payment. And then in Louisiana, and I believe in all states, but I do know it's at least most states, there is no cap as a realtor to what I can be paid. So I can, if it appraises, I can take a $200,000 commission. I can essentially finance that into the deal if I wanted to. Now, consumers can do something different. They can roll in equity if their lending institution will allow it. And if you're a novice investor, if you're new without a portfolio and you don't have any assets or incomes or deposits to back that risk for the bank, they probably won't let you do that up front.
Well, and a lot of it's going to just depend on the size of the deal. Because like when I bought the land next to my house, that's actually, I ended up not on land. You don't buy land without putting money down. I was actually able to buy it without putting money down because there was enough, and it wasn't, there was a big enough difference between what it appraised for and what I was buying it for.
Yeah. But it's also because you have an equity evaluation in your portfolio, which would be your house and your land, right? I assume the same people who have your land have your house. No, it's not. Okay, that's good.
Oh, it was also a credit union. So sometimes first off, if you're doing investments, come talk to somebody like a Harrison that Scooter was saying, like, somebody's gone before you, go find out, because you might hear a no or, oh, that's not possible from this person or this lender. And then somebody over here will be like, oh no, if you do it like this, it'll be fine. Yeah. So ask questions. Don't just assume it's a no.
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up, because we'll get to that portion of like people are going to say no and you can go find a yes somewhere else. So brought in the business partner. They're going to put in the $75,000. I'm going to put in $25,000. My commission will go into the deal, so that's my $75,000. And so for $25,000 out of my pocket, I'm going to buy $1 million deal. I'm shopping out to my banks on AM schedules and rates right now. At 25 years, we'll cash flow $2,500 a month. At 30 years, it'll be a lot closer to $3,000 a month. We're talking about net cash flow to investor pocket.
And is this a business? Is this what is it? Can we know? Or is this announced later?
I didn't have to sign an NDA or anything, so I'm going to assume. I'm not going to give an address or anything because the deal's not finalized. But we bought a frat house.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I've never done it before, but when I was talking to the guy, because I said, man, I said, this feels like a different investment. It's not a typical lessee-lessor relationship. Lessee is the person renting, lessor is the person renting to. And He said, man, it's not. He said, it is a very, it's not adversarial. It's a guaranteed rent from a national organization. They handle all the repairs up to $3,000. So HVAC goes out, they take care of the first $3,000, whether it's their fault or not. They punch a hole in the door. Like our construction company will come in at full markup, everything, and go replace the door. We make profit on the deal and they have to pay for it. Anything like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, I walked in and we did, an assessment of the property, and we're like, okay, well, like all these things need to be done. And I asked him, I was like, well, how do I handle this? Because this looks like a lot of deferred maintenance that nobody's done. And he said, oh, you just send your crews in there and go do it. You send that frat a bill and you charge what you would charge any other customer for construction services. I was like, seriously?
Well, so my question would be, how come he hasn't done that?
One of the other reasons he wants to sell is he does not have any family, any business partners, or any connections in Northeast Louisiana. All his stuff is really southeastern, very southeasterly.
It's harder because you gotta. I get that.
So he just said, he's like, Harrison, I have nobody there. That investment is on an island, and he's like, man, I've got Auburn, Clemson, Florida, Georgia. He's got frat houses and student housing all in the southeastern region of the country. He said, man, that's just too far west for me. I don't want to be there anymore. Because I've really been looking, like this deal was so good. Like I'm going to tell you how good this deal is in a second. But it was so good that like me and the business partner were going, what's the catch?
Yeah, what do I not know? Well, this is kind of cool that we're talking about it. So if there's a catch he's not aware of, put it in the comments. Come talk to us.
Right?
Feel like danger, Will Robinson.
I love that show. We're getting it for $1 million. After I did an analysis on it, in my conservative opinion, it's actually worth 1.2 to 1.3 right now. So my net worth grows by $200,000 to $300,000 the moment I sign the paperwork on this thing.
And it's an investment, so there was equity, right? Like
there's already built-in equity.
Yeah.
I have a feeling when the appraisal
there's
comes in,
built-in cash flow already.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to make money our cash-on-cash returns are absolutely ridiculous. You would never say no to this investment if you have the funds to get in it.
Yeah.
And then it's on a very prestigious piece of dirt. There are multi-million dollar in multifamily investments on every side of this investment. I have the worst property on the nicest street.
Mm-hmm. Which is kind of where you want to be.
That's a great place to be. And then I've already kind of like future paced this investment and what we can do. I've already talked to my partner. I went and did my assessment, had my painter and some people go out there. And I was like, look, these are the improvements I want to make. We're going to drop an additional $20,000. We're going to make this place a little bit nicer for them. And then we're going to do a cost of living increase every year on their 5-year lease that they're about to sign with us. So our margins are only going to go up. And then if we can keep it nice enough for 5 to 10 years, it is my personal opinion that we'll be able to get these rents up within 10 years to a place where at a 7 cap, which is what you would buy somewhere around Tech Campus, will be about 1.8 in 10 years. So we're going to make $2,500 to $3,000 a month. So that is $30,000 to $36,000 a year in net cash flow. And then on top of that, so over 10 years, that's $360,000 that we will get to use as a reinvestment or to buy something else or whatever.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, we're going to make around $800,000 on this investment in 10 years. So I am going to leverage $1 million. The other people are going to pay the note. The other people are going to pay the repairs. I'm just going to do a little bit of customer service and lip service. And our net for 10 years on this investment will be over 1.1 mil. This is likely the best investment I've ever made in my life.
Doesn't sound like it sucks.
No, because even if I told the guy, I said, even if the frat left, let's say the frat got kicked off campus and no other frat wanted to come, or sorority wanted to come into this position, I started researching room rent and student housing, and I was like, we're good. Our rents will go down a little bit, but we'll still cash flow $1,800 to $2,200 a month. I was like, this thing covers itself no matter best and worst case scenario. Yeah. Also, something I'm learning. I was not a part of Greek life. Like I didn't finish college. So one thing I'm learning is that not every frat or sorority even has the privilege of an on-campus house. So even if we did get them, if they got kicked off campus,
somebody else might be waiting in the wings.
I think there's 4 to 6 frats that currently want a frat house, but do not have availability because land is scarce in Tech right now. Student housing is scarce. It's my belief, that after doing the research and talking to some Greek life people, we would just have another renter in line, willing to pay top dollar immediately.
That's cool.
Yeah. So that is a really cool thing. So you brought up a really good point, and that is, people tell you, well, no, we can't do that deal, or we can't do that. And I specifically mean this in your lending organizations, the banks that you're going to get financing. Yeah. I have people that come on to me all the time. They're like, well, I got to put 20% down and my rate's going to be 9.5, and they're only going to am it out over 15 years. So my payments to be through the roof. This investment doesn't work. And I was like, who are you banking with? And did you just not negotiate? Did you not put out some preliminary terms? Like, hey, if you can do this with me, I will give you my business, rather than begging for money.
Yeah. And then if it's an investment, I would even say are you not every realtor is an investor, and that's fine. That's niches. Mm-hmm. Not every loan officer is a investor loan officer, right? Mm-hmm. So are you talking to the right person?
Yeah, and every bank has a different tolerance of risk. Mm-hmm. I have learned that. If you go to Chase Bank and you want a loan, if you don't have an 800 credit score, a pedigree, and an MD or an Esquire behind your name, you're going to get a terrible deal typically.
And you're going to wait forever.
Yeah, I don't hate Chase. I actually have a personal checking account with them for the reason that they're accessible everywhere and their online banking is impeccable. Mm-hmm. Now, my business banking does not go through them, and I have no loans through them. I do have my daughter's credit cards through them. Yeah. That's not the place that I would go. Here's recommendations on, if you want to be an investor, here's some recommendations on how you would start. Number one is go get hooked up to a local relationship bank. I'm going to give you my top two. There are other good ones out there. I've had good and bad experiences with a few locally. But I'm going to give you my top two. Number one is going to be Origin Bank. Jeremy Harrell is my banker.
It's funny that you say that, and I would love for anybody that knows Jeremy to give him a shout out here, because
I wonder if
everybody.
I think he would get on here.
Yeah, look, because when people talk about investments in this area, his name's always comes up.
He is in every major investor that I know. He is in their lineup.
Somewhere in their
lineup. And every professional investor is diversifying bankers, because I have watched, and I'm not saying that Guarantee does this or any specific organization does this, but you don't want to give any lending organization that much power over your portfolio, because let's just say they get mad at you or there's something that happens, because it's relationship banking. They don't like your portfolio anymore. They don't like the risk associated with the class that you invested in. They have the right to call, and if they call everything, now you got to go offload. You have $5 million worth of stuff that most people may not like if you have grade F, trailers, things like that. And the other banks are like, well, I don't really have a tolerance for that big of a portfolio for that class. And now you're stuck on bankruptcy sale.
Yeah. So will you, real quick, because I want to interject here, just because everybody listening may not know all the terms. So you said grade F, like trailers, trailer parks. Mm-hmm. What are and you don't have to go too technical, but what's the quick overview of the grades?
Yeah, so it's A through F. It's a grading scale, just like in school, right? A, new construction, nice area. B, C, newer, less than 50, good condition, nice area, appreciating asset. D, F, you're going to get into, I don't want to use geographical terms. Yeah. But you're going to get
lower
into lower income areas, higher crime rates, poor school zones. I would just say
maybe section, not whether your property is Section 8 or not. There's probably Section 8, or that doesn't apply.
That has nothing to do with anything, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. You can have. I can Section 8 a house over here on East Ironwood, half a mile down the road from me.
I guess you're right. Yeah,
and that is a great neighborhood. That's where my daughter lives. I'm likely going to buy a house there in the next few months. Yeah. Section 8 has absolutely nothing to do with grade of property. So grade F is, it's high risk. When you're buying grade DF, you're buying cash flow, not necessarily an asset. So you're buying a house for $30,000, $40,000, and the house itself likely is not worth $30,000, $40,000 due to location, condition, and all that stuff. But $30,000 will rent for $700 a month. Well, when you look at that, you didn't buy an asset, you bought cash flow. And we like cash flow, and that's great. But when you go to a high interest rate market, $30,000 at 9% is not near as cool as $30,000 at 5%, and it makes that asset very, very hard to sell. So if you look on the market right now, you'll see a lot of investor portfolios in grade D, grade F areas and assets, and you can't sell them. You have to quite literally give them away. But all these investors are wanting to get out of that because they're like, well, my note's about to balloon and I need to renew and my rate's going to go up, so I need to sell. But they don't want to sell for the right price. And they get mad at me, and I'm like, you have property and you're wanting to sell property for gold. Either sell
it's not the market for it.
Yeah, well, it's based on a cash flow evaluation. That's the way you sell grade D and F.
Yes. Well,
and so you bought it whenever the cash flow is this, but now that the interest rates are up and you're about to renew and the cash flow is this, you think that you still have that property or that profit and that evaluation. You do not.
You have a different evaluation now. Absolutely.
That's right.
Well, that's a huge piece, because a lot of times somebody will ask, like, is this investment property? Is this a good deal? And now this is very, very broad. This would be more like an investment house. So please understand, like, I'm not saying this is and you can tell me how this lands with you, but like, when we were working with investors and they looked at a residential income type house, just a rental house, and they were like, if they were going to buy it, they wanted to know what they could bring in per month, and they would multiply that by 5, and if they could get in there, because 5 years of payments, if that's what they want to buy it for. Now, there's lots of other things that play into a part.
I've never used that method at all.
Yeah. Because they would just take that, divide it by 5. Now, again, that would be like, they had different tiers, but that would be a good starting place,
Yeah.
Where, we won't go into how you do that, because you keep going with what you were sharing.
Yeah. So let's go back to the lending organization. So number 1 was Guarantee Bank. I use Jeremy Harrell. Number 2, and I'm actually, it's not a new relationship for me because I've had a long-standing relationship with this bank, but I'm starting to bid them for deals now, is Origin Bank. I've been talking to Quentin Durr over there. He's been absolutely phenomenal. I definitely would recommend him. But both of those are banks that I don't think are going anywhere. They both treat me amazingly, so I appreciate that. And, I've gotten no's from Jeremy on deals, and I'll call Quentin and be like, yo, can we do this? And actually, Quentin told me no to the Frat House deal. And I was like, you're kidding me. He's like, Harrison, you're already bidding us out for like $1.5 million on something else right now. And I was like, I have a business partner on this. Does it matter? And I told him who it was. And he was like, oh, we could probably do the deal now. And I was like, you sack of shit. Like, why? Because he's got X behind his name and I don't. And look, they do. Like, if you're a doctor or a lawyer, banks are going to favor you because they understand your elevated income earning potential and the consistency of it. If you're a heart surgeon, you can quite literally go kick a baby and still have a job.
But let's not.
I mean, don't do it, but you could, and they understand that. Like, there's only so many heart surgeons, especially in Monroe, because surgeons don't typically want to live here unless they have a reason to be here. And so you can almost get away with murder. Attorneys can go anywhere and make great money. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can even go. You can go be a staff attorney somewhere and make 6 figures.
And not only that, but if you think about, we're looking for bankers that are okay with risk, which is almost like an oxymoron, right?
I am walking risk. That's what I am.
Yes. And so you have to have somebody that understands that mindset, and that not just them, but their board of directors. Everybody. And sometimes those things change. And so, like you said, you've got to make sure that you're not all in one place. This is the interesting. I do want to say this. We're going to be Googling. This is now. I love this.
It's a thing now.
It's a thing now. So one of the things I read this book. Many of you guys have read the Dave Ramsey book, Millionaire Next Door. That's not the right name of the book.
Financial Peace University.
No, he's got way more. Anyways.
Oh, I know he has multiple books, but I don't. So I like Dave.
Yeah, but I don't even think that it was. It may not. Anyways, the Ramsey organization, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
When they did research, the top 5 careers of millionaires, and I thought this was very interesting. Oh, no,
it's a great list. It's a great list.
Engineers.
So I want to break that down. Why are engineers?
We're going to the same place. Give me 1 second, and we'll say it all at the end. Because engineers, accountants, or CPAs, Teachers, surprisingly.
But that doesn't surprise me though.
Well,
because of behavioral style.
That's right.
I know that's where we're going with this conversation.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
once I got that, I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Management and attorneys.
Yep.
And so now you get to steal my thunder and tell them why.
Well, no, I think that list was super interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's not
doctors.
It's not doctors. It's not entrepreneurs.
Not even entrepreneurs.
Yeah, it's not business owners. The behavioral style of those people is typically going to be analytical, high management, low risk, steady, SC
systems.
Personality. Engineers analyze everything before making a decision. There's a spreadsheet, there's a graph, there's freaking graph paper for them to like make their bed. They're like, well, what is the angle at which is the most efficient? And they do that with their finances and their money.
They all think systems. And there's also not an emotional attachment because a lot of times, like when we sell a residential home, you've lived there, you've built something, you have some emotional attachment. A lot of people, to their property. Well, when you're looking at investors, they're only looking at, does this deal make financial sense? And so that it's just, what's the system?
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. But I love that list. You know the other reason I love that list? Teachers are on it.
Yes.
So I love, so one of the things that I deal with, and I don't want to sound like a victim, so you're allowed to correct me if I sound like a victim. Being successful in a small town is daunting sometimes. Because I feel like there's like a comparison, like, oh, you have this or whatever. And maybe this may be a personal issue.
I think it could be your perspective.
It's because I lead people and I do hear comments that are made about things. And so I can't get super specific.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Yeah.
Well,
it's almost, is it like a comment like this? Because I obviously don't know who you're talking about or whatever. But
well, it's
like,
not a who. It's a large group.
Well, it's almost like it's that you're lucky.
Yeah.
You lucked into this, or you like. Is it something to that effect?
Well, if you call any part of my life lucky, like I'll call it blessed. But is that kind of what you're getting? Most people. No. Okay. I think it's just that comparison. Like why do you make that? Why do you have that? And that it irks me. And the reason I love teachers being on that list is because it shows that you don't need a large income to have discipline and make money work for you. And I love that.
Well, that and what's interesting, so doctors, like you said, like and
doctors are oftentimes the worst business people on the planet because they out-earn their stupidity. And
that's a Dave Ramsey quote, which I do love that. Most of us out-earn our financial illiteracy. And that's a lot of times the reason why millionaires, I think people that make tons of money isn't on here is because they're not stretching for that gap, or they can make so much money as the doctor, and they're working lots of hours and all that. That's what they're focused on, and they're not.
They accumulate a lot of debt, and they accumulate a lot of notes. Like I've worked with a lot of doctors. Doctors are actually some of my least favorite clients. I do have
we have some that we love.
No, look, I have doctors and medical professionals, but like. It is my opinion, and look, this is I've dated nurses and hung out with nurses and have clients that are nurses, and they talk about the doctors they work for. Some of them have great things to say about their doctors. Others are like they're jerks. And it is that they are educated on such a high level, and most of these guys are brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant. But being smart and being great at one thing doesn't make you a business person. And so I have seen doctors whose finances, these guys are making $500,000 plus a year, and their finances are in the dumps.
Yeah, they're actually spending more than they make.
And yet we have people making $50,000 freaking dollars a year who are turning into millionaires and beating a doctor's ass. Yeah. And it's because of decision making and culture and just a discipline daily.
Well, all of that, and this is the interesting thing. Like you can take anybody in any field, but like let's take doctors. Can you imagine the amount of time, energy, and like they're learning like this, right? So they're so hyper focused on this, it's hard for them to focus on this. And it's very much though, like when you're really good at something, it's hard to put your ego in your pocket and go do something that you have to be bad at first. Or you have to put your ego in your pocket and realize you don't know everything. So you have to study that first. And it's a lot. That's why a lot of people may go, good here, and they can't pivot because they're not willing to put their ego in their pocket for just a little bit. And I'm sure that could be said of all of us in some way, but that's a lot of it. And these people, you know, when you look at engineers, accountants, CPAs, teachers, management, attorneys, they're like, how do I learn this? They're probably most of these are probably very inquisitive and learning based. And going, what do I not know?
Yeah. Like they learn for a living. And so they understand that. You say this to me all the time, like come at something like a child, come at something like a beginner.
Beginner's mind.
Yeah, but with a beginner's mind, that's right. Those are the words you use. And I was listening to Gary Vaynerchuk doing a...
Gary V.
I don't agree with everything he says.
No, but I like how he owns what he says.
Yeah, he says it with absolute conviction. And so if you're going to say it, believe it. But I sent a clip to the team. It was great. You know, I'll share it with anybody who wants to see it, although... Just know it's Gary V and
there's
language warning.
Yeah.
But he was saying, like, lean into your strengths. Like, if you're good at something, if you're a doctor, go be the best freaking doctor ever and get your pay as high as possible. And then you don't have to go do what you're bad at. Let someone else do what they're good at for you. And that is a trade of service. Like, I get made fun of all the time. Like, people are like, well, Harrison, when do you mow your yard? I'm like, I haven't mowed my yard in 5 years, maybe longer, maybe closer to 7, 8, 9, 10. When do you do your household chores? Like, when do you wash your clothes? Like, I don't wash my clothes. My clothes are washed, just to be clear.
He's like, you're like Jack Reacher. You wear them one time, you throw them away, and you just get another polo shirt.
Not that rich. I had the same like 7 shirts and 2 pairs of jeans until they get a hole in it. But I don't wash dishes. I don't do any of that stuff. Like, why? Because I am most valuable in my 20%, which is, for me, it's real estate, selling real estate, coaching real estate, or investing in real estate. Now, I do a lot of other things. So we've got 5+ businesses going right now. Ask me how much time I spend in those things.
Yeah.
Because I'm not good at it. You know what I am good at? I'm good at using my connections through the real estate to help connect people to their success, and then I let their superpower be my superpower. I'm not good at these things.
Well, so interesting enough that you said that. So earlier today, the conversation we had before the podcast.
Yeah.
So I said that.
We talked for like 45 minutes.
No, it was not that long.
It was.
I decided to I'm getting back into running. I'm going to call today a run. It was a walk. Like I ran.
I called her walking. She was not a run.
Well, you didn't call me. I'm like, I definitely walked. Like the majority of it. It took me a long time. Are you serious?
Now, if you were sweating after I acted like I was going to hit you, came up behind you and blew my horn.
Yeah, that did startle me. Like, I'm very easily startled. I jumped.
No, not startled's not the word I would use.
Startled. I'm going with startled.
She went sh**less.
I did yell that.
I heard it. It was in my car. My windows are rolled up and all I hear is, oh,
Look, I was on I startle easy, and I'm glad it was just because I was on a mission trip. Yeah, mission trip.
Tell us about this mission.
I'm in Spain. It's we were walking a pilgrimage.
Not today. This is
no, not today. No. I'm just saying, so I'm with it's me and like a lady that leads mission trips and a gentleman that is.
So this is like a Christian organization.
Oh yeah, and this gentleman that is they're both they're work with missionaries. As far as I'm concerned, they're missionaries, right? And I'm walking, and a big ass dog jumps at me, and I yell. There was a fence between me and the dog.
Olivia, that was unnecessary profanity.
Everybody heard. I was like, I'm sorry. And they laughed at me. They were cool, but I was just like, it was very much like that, where
there is a shirt that I want to create, and it's not. I couldn't wear it in public. Like I could probably wear it like when I'm out boating or something, But it's I love Jesus.
And I cuss a little. No.
But I also love the word.
Yeah. We shouldn't wear that outside.
I mean, but it's true.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's true. It's not. I'm not cussing. I'm exclaiming.
Yeah.
It's a colorful word that you add to your vocabulary.
Well, so I am very much I think that I don't find it offensive. I consider myself a follower of Jesus Christ, and cuss words don't bother me.
Yeah.
It's just a word, and it's just a word if you what's the meaning that you give it?
Well, the meaning that I give it, but also there's a big difference in going, Olivia, you crushed it. Let's go. Like it's like, hey, it's like let's go on steroids, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm genuinely excited for you. That's what that means. That's a big difference in going, Olivia, you suck.
Yeah.
Like that. Now I agree. You shouldn't say that word.
To me, that's the difference is like when I talk to like my nephews and nieces and things like that, and we talk about the power of words, to me, it is the power of words. If I said something ugly to you and I know good, upstanding people that can do this really well. If I said something and tore you down and never used a cuss word, that's horrible. It's not the word; it's the intent behind what I said.
Yeah.
Like, so
like I wouldn't tell you sucked without the F word, but then
it's like again, it's all about that connotation because we know people that can make you feel this small and never use a cuss word, and then I hang out with you and you might say cuss words, but I don't ever feel that small.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the difference.
I also have to correct myself. I did fire someone and tell them they sucked at their job. That happened. I meant it lovingly, actually. Like, hey, you suck at this. This is not for you.
You encourage them.
It was meant to be encouraging.
Well, and you're still
like, hey,
y'all
this
are still
is
friends.
not for you.
Is this the guy? If this is the person I'm thinking of, or is this somebody else?
Oh, then I've done it twice. Then, if you include Carter Cassia.
Yes, but Carter's amazing. I
love Carter. I was texting him right before I went to bed last night.
And he's amazing what he does. I do think that's another thing. Like now. In the proper setting, because I think sometimes people give their opinions when it has, like, you be quiet, that I didn't ask for that. But there are times when you can, like, let's say in a coaching relationship, there have been times where I've coached somebody out of the business and they were happier.
But that's what I meant. Like, you suck at this. Let's go do something where you lean into your strengths.
Where you enjoy it. Yeah. Who wants to be miserable every day?
You know what? I know who the other person was now, and they actually took it really well, and they took a deep breath and said thank you.
Well, yeah.
Because he had a passion.
Helped them see something.
Yeah, he had a passion for music, and I was like, bro, you're awful at this, and you're really good at that. Like, if you're not going to make any money and you have a passion project, why wouldn't you go after a passion project that could actually feed your family one day? Because he's like, when I say excellent, like, dude's fucking killer.
Yeah, or at least do something adjacent to, like, something that, like, if you're miserable every day, we need to go do.
If you go to work and you hate it, like, you shouldn't be here.
Now, there's times, and it kind of goes back to that. We think about, like,
Olivia thinks I hate what I do.
No.
She's told me I need a vacation like 5 times in the last week.
Well, he does. But there's a difference because it's that third. There are times, if a third of the time you're, like, frustrated or trying to lean in and, like, things, okay, that's fine. And then I think about it was only 2 miles, by the way. I wish it was a lot further between my house and Harrison's house. And in that 2 miles, there was a third of it that I was like, I'm so glad I'm doing this. And there's a third of it that was like, I saw your text come up on my phone and I almost said, like, just come pick me up. And then there's a third of it that I was
right on the hill. Like, it was literally a downhill run from there.
Yeah. But then there was like a third that I was like, this is fine. Right? So like but if you're not in that third, you're living your life and everything is terrible, you need a different job. Now, I'm not saying quit it today because but let's start working today on how to figure out, get you somewhere else.
Yeah. People need to lean into their strength and their happiness. Now, you're not going to be happy 24/7.
No.
I do, but like lean into your strengths because, so when you lean into your strengths, you're doing things that are more natural. The second thing is you're going to be more successful, which is likely going to lead to happiness, fulfillment, joy, not the pain of showing up to do something you don't want to do. And then also you're probably going to make more money because you're naturally good at it. When you're not miserable, other things come to you. It's very much like teachers. I do know some teachers. Matter of fact, I was a roommate one time. She was a teacher, and like as soon as she could retire, she retired. Yeah.
But with that said, she didn't hate every part of her job or anything like that. And yet it was probably the third. And yet it's if you don't love what you do, figure out something or like, you're going to be miserable, especially if you're miserable and not making money. Now, and I'm not talking like when you first start a business
teacher, you really should go get another job.
Yeah.
That income is replaceable. But if you're not enjoying what you're doing, you're not living in creation. And if you're not living in creation, you are not fulfilling your purpose. Like, there's no way you are.
And you're impacting your life, your loved
family's
one's life.
Yeah,
like,
I think one of the most selfish things you can do is stay in a job you hate and stay in an environment in which you are not thriving. and you're doing it because you're comfortable, like 100%.
You're comfortable, maybe you're apprehensive now, because this is the other thing. This could also happen is, let's say that you're in a job, and there was a thing that I was watching, actually sent it to my nephew, and was talking about pessimism. There is a CEO, like a podcast, Think Like a CEO. I don't remember the name
Think
of it.
Like a CEO is a podcast, yeah.
Well, they were talking about this, and I thought that's so, but they were talking about pessimistic people are, what's the opposite of pessimistic?
Optimistic.
Optimistic. They were talking about, and I thought this was interesting. An optimistic person, when something bad happens to them, they tend to think it was like I did everything I could. It was kind of out of my control. So they don't put the blame on them, right? And when something good happens, they're like, "Oh, cool! Look what I did," or "Look, right." Where a pessimistic person, they tend to, like if something bad happens, well, I mean, it always happens to me. I mean, okay, and even if something good happens, it's like, well, yeah, they just hired me because I didn't have any other choice. So like, no matter what.
Right.
So if you work on...
my luck will turn around. It's not going to be good, I promise.
But if you work on it, you figure out and you go, okay, maybe I am miserable, and yet my lifestyle or my family or whatever, I've got to be here. Well, decide to get happy. Figure out something within that. Change your perspective. Read a different book. Watch a different movie. Look at it different. Start going to work and instead of just complaining about everybody at work, start looking at them differently. Start giving them grace. Start coming from gratitude, and you might not be so miserable at it. But either way, do something. Change something. We are so far off the topic. Where were we going with all this when we were talking about investing? And then I've derailed somewhere.
I'm actually okay with that, though.
Yeah.
Like, there was some good conversation in there.
Yeah.
But no, we can go back to investing. That's easy. I talked about the two lending places that I like to use. There's a few more.
There's several.
I'm sending in apps to a few different banks right now on the two big deals that I'm working. But so the main terms that you want to look at with your bank when you're crunching a deal is your AM schedule, and that's your amortization. I don't know. Amortization. Yeah.
It's almost like Worcestershire sauce. You just got to say it and get it out of the way.
Wash your sister sauce. Yeah. It's your AM schedule, and so that's the length of time in which they will amortize the deal, and so that means. Typically, you're going to see 15, 20 years as a newer investor. As you get a more experienced portfolio and you grow a relationship with a bank, you can get them to AM that out longer. The importance of longer AMs is to get your note down. They're amortizing the debt over a longer period of time, which will create lower payments for you, which will increase your cash flow on the deal. So it just depends on what your goal is. Do you want to pay this thing off quicker, or do you want to cash flow this thing?
And the interesting thing is the answer to that is different on every level of your investing, right? Because there are times where like, okay, we need the cash flow, we're going to do this. There's other times, and the cool part is if it's lower, you can always pay more, or if it's longer out. But there's, and then so it doesn't have to be one thing.
Yeah. Next thing is going to be your interest rate. Obviously, this controls, how much interest you're going to pay. And it has a big, 1 point of interest is going to be a 10 to 13% difference on your payment. And the cost of the deal. So you want to, obviously look and see who's competitive with that. Next is going to be down payment. I've seen some banks even ask for 25%. I've seen, typical for me is 15%. I did do it. I'm not going to name the organization or the lender who did it for me, but I actually did do a 10% down payment on a deal. It was a special circumstance, and they said, hey, I didn't even ask for it. I just said, hey, I need to find some money inside this deal somewhere. Like, what do we need to do? And he goes, let me help you out. Let me get you a 90-10 on this one. Went to the board, got it approved same day. And it helped me out of a pinch on that investment. So that does exist, but you're not going to get that when you start. Yeah. Now, again, doctor, lawyer, long-standing practice, deposits have been going to that bank for a long time. You might get the deal that it took me 8 years to get.
Yeah. Ask. Worst thing they can say is no.
That's right.
Or they say, or even better than no is when they go, because no is just fine. Or they go, what about this? Kind of like your guy. You want, hey, I need this. And they were like, let me figure it out. What are you looking up now?
So last night at like 7, I just logged into Facebook for like a second. And the first thing that popped up was Cubans last week woke up with empty bank accounts. The government took everything.
Ouch.
And so I sent Charles, you remember Rafiki from Lion King?
Uh-huh.
So all in my head,
It's
I
the
was
best.
like, no,
not that's right.
The king has returned.
Yeah.
And so I sent him that meme.
Oh, that's awesome. We'll flash that on.
And I was like,
send that to Kyle.
and then, you know, he said after that, he said, he goes, it is time. And so I said, it is time
That's
for Charles.
awesome.
Charles, I love this guy. And to be this smart, it hurts me that he is this dumb. He said, what is that? Prince of Cuba, my ass. Oh my gosh. All right. Back to investing, Olivia.
Yes.
Jesus.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Connor's going to cut us back in here.
I might do a video that we click in the video at the bottom and she'll explain what the heck she was talking about.
That's right. Yeah. She'll do one of her head pictures.
That's
Talking head. All right. So AM schedule, interest rate, down payment. Those are going to be three of your biggest factors.
And keep in mind, like if you find a really good deal and you don't have the money,
you should call me.
Stop. Call Harrison. Call somebody.
Yeah.
There was we need to have him. I know you aren't familiar with him as much, but Derek Busby.
So I've heard great things about him. Do not know him personally.
Okay, I'm a huge fan, and him and his wife, and I haven't seen his kids in forever. But the last time I did, it was this. Anyway, great kids. But one of the things he ended up the building on 7th Street tower. What's that big building
On 7th and West Monroe?
Yeah.
A bank is in there.
But it's like a big tower.
Yeah,
It's our biggest building.
Kennard used to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so that was up for sale. And he was like, this is an awesome deal. How to make it work? And he didn't know. And he didn't, like, at that point, he couldn't, he went and got a partner. And then he ended up owning, like, the biggest building in our area. And
yeah, I'd love to own that building. That'd be great.
oh, yeah. And so
Derek, if you'd like to sell it.
So don't just go, it won't work, or I don't have the money. Find the deal and then go find the money.
Yeah,
It's easier to find the money than the deal sometimes.
So what I have
Or if
learned,
you have the money, then
finding money's easy.
Well, if you have money, find somebody to find the deal. If you don't have money, find the deal.
Find the deal and go partner with somebody and go, hey, if I bring in deals to your world, can I be a partner until I can pay you out of it? Can I be a partner until, maybe can I be a minority partner until I can buy into the rest of it? Like there's
ways to do different things.
Right. Like the person that I did this deal with, one of the qualifications to partner in deals with me is obviously like there's financial stability and other things, but like I go through my lineup, like, do you work with me? Do you invest with me? Are you a business partner of mine? Like that's the number, like the people who are in my life, those are the people I'm committed to helping them raise their net worth as well. But like that person got to raise his net worth by $400K in the next 10 years with me.
He had the money, you had the deal.
And we have and we're in a relationship, go get in a relationship. And that's the next thing I'm going to talk about here is investment lending, getting money from banks is not like buying a house. It is absolutely opposite. I know it's hard for people to wrap their head around because you went and got a mortgage and they gave you just a full examination and it was awful. And they asked for documents 5 times. And it's because those are federally regulated. There is a checklist that the government mandates. And if you don't do it, you get in trouble. You could lose your ability to sell FHA, RD, VA loans.
Well, and they buy the loan and they sell them.
Well, typically,
so
yes.
They have to.
So they would have to hold it in-house and loan their own money out instead of selling the loan and making money.
And some banks do that, but the majority of them, they're selling that loan. Like before you make your first payment, it's gone.
That's right. Yeah. And so when you're going to find these banks, if you're a business owner or just the money that you make, they are going to rate your relationship based on a few things. Like how long have you been with that bank? If you haven't been with it, you're starting with a new relationship. How much can you put into their bank accounts? Deposits, like there is a balance in between deposits and how much money they can lend. So if they don't have deposits, they can't lend money effectively. So they're going to say like, hey, like, are you depositing with us? And that's why they ask you to open up a checking account at their bank. They need deposits in order for them to get into a business relationship with you. Are you a community influencer? Can you get your business partners and friends to begin depositing and making deals with this bank? That's a lot of where I've gotten some grace is that a lot of my business partners are now using them. My businesses are diversified inside the lending organizations that we use. My realtors are using a lot of our people, and through that, they're able to get perks too, because now we're all in this big happy circle of we're helping this bank grow. And that's why, like, when you talk about commercial banking, I want you to replace commercial and business banking with relationship banking. It is a relationship. I can call my personal cell phone. I can call the personal cell phone number of one of my personal bankers because we have a relationship. And 8 years ago, I would never have been afforded that privilege because I did not have a relationship. I would have been given that 9 to 5 number, and at 4:30, they're not answering the phone anymore. But now I can email, I can text, I can call, and they will text and call me back on the weekends because it's relationship. They know what this relationship is with me.
That's right. That's right. Well, it's value.
Yeah.
And I love that relationship, value, all those pieces.
It's always going to be the who. Who do you know?
That's right. Well, and so remember I told you there was a couple of really good questions. The one that I'm the most interested in, I'm going to send out a shout out to Gloria Flint. She had posted this, and obviously I'm sure there's going to be caveats here, and yet I thought this was really cool. Has Harrison considered a pooling investment where people who want to invest in real estate can join a pool of other small investors to start investing?
So I have considered that, and I even was putting together a group at one point. Here is where it got sketchy there. Number one, when you're pooling with smaller investors, and so everybody would have to commit to a monthly spend. So I would become a bill for you. We would bill out $300, $400, $500 a month, whatever that is. We would take your money, we would put it into a deal.
It almost becomes like the market, or like, the stock market type thing where you're buying. Yeah.
But what happened as a smaller investor, especially somebody who's like, well, I want to start investing, so I'll commit to $300 a month. But then most people don't see a return in the first year or two. What do they start doing?
They want their money back.
They want their money back. Now I've got to pull money out of a deal, or their spending habits change, their life situation change, and that $300 now becomes impossible. Well, now we don't get their money. That is, I learned, in fact, let me tell you, so I was doing something exactly like that, and somebody handed me $3,000 up front. They owed me like another $7,000 to get them fully in on this deal. And they had something go on in their family. It was nothing, it wasn't their fault.
No, life happened, and they weren't financially in a spot that made sense.
Right, that the rest of that money was gone. They could not fully invest in the deal. And so I'm sitting here with somebody's $3,000 that's already tied up in the deal. It's still tied up in that deal. And I'm going to pay them on it. Like I've told them, I say, hey, this is how, when you need the money, you let me know. But right now it's sitting in that deal. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take how well that deal did over the last, it's worth like 3 years on that $3,000 now. And I'm going to calculate. I'm going to calculate his interest, and I'll write him a check out of my account. And I'm going to let him stay in that deal as long as he wants. But if I were to do that on a massive level, and now I'm becoming a full-time financial manager, and it is a lot. Now, if we were in a bigger city where these deals were $5 million, like I can't do a $5 million deal. Like I just, that's not in my wheelhouse right now. I'm not financially there.
Not yet.
No, I will be. Don't worry. Yeah. I'm doing, like, in my opinion, I'm doing big deals right now. Like I've got $2 million deals going. And those are scary. I'm going to be really honest. Those are scary, like a little bit of stress, a little sleep loss over, like I'm currently about to finance right over my net worth in the next 30 days. Seriously. And so in bigger cities, these syndications, these investing groups, they may make more sense because the real estate is so expensive that one person typically cannot afford to get in it, and they need groups. We're in Monroe. I don't need people to go buy a $100,000 house or a $200,000 house. I can just go sign for it.
Well, and so the answer for right now, Gloria, while he's thought about it, it's an interesting idea. It's not something that makes sense yet. One day, who knows? Like there may be.
It'd have to be a large multi-unit, an apartment complex for like $10 million. Like if Ashford were to sell, I would definitely need an investment group for that.
Well, and so this is the interesting thing. So Gloria, it was a great question, but anybody else that's listening to that, if you are interested in doing that, what if that's what you bring to the party? Like, go figure it out, go study it, go do all the legwork, bring it back to Harrison or something. Heck, maybe you don't need Harrison. Maybe you need somebody else and go, hey.
You definitely need Harrison.
This is how. So, like, that way you're not coming to him going, hey, set it up. You're coming to him going, hey, look, you can make money. We can make money to do this. I have a structure.
And use your influence to get people.
Yeah, and that's a great conversation. And then the last question, and okay, Justin Gwynn. listens to this. And first off, I love that Justin listens to podcasts. I'm a big fan of his. He's very funny.
I love Justin.
And he actually realized that I didn't know that I did this. So he's like, there's a pattern. He goes, every time before you're going to lay on some knowledge for Harrison, you do your hand. And then I went back and watched, and I do that. And I was like,
now I'm going to look for the call sign, like, silence.
Yeah, silence, peasant. No, it's more, I think it's like I am animated. Well, so he wants to know, how do you make it drizzle?
So you got to know the backstory to that.
You have to tell the backstory.
So when a team owner, a team leader, you are labeled a rainmaker. That's the lingo.
The lingo. You're a rainmaker. You run the team.
Yeah, you run the team. You're supposed to be making leads rain on your team. You're supposed to be the rainmaker. In order to, well, in the olden days when teams had a standard, and not just everybody started a team or a group, you had to have a production minimum to have the right to own a team. And then, it was your goal. Like, you were the lead generator. You're the influencer. You're giving deals to your people so they can go do what they do and you do what you do best. And that's the 80-20 principle, right? And so when I became a rainmaker, and I would always laugh with Justin, like, look, I don't really like that title because it's almost like, look at me, I'm the rainmaker, know? And because it was a privilege to start a team back in the day, when people had standards around what a team or a group or a company or your name and whatever it is want to put. I want to throw so much shade now.
Well, and the interesting thing, everybody goes through different parts of their business. The big thing I would say before you call yourself a team, you go into partnership, do the research, read the book, get the coach, get the mentor, do something. Don't just go, well, I heard these people did team thing. We're going to do team thing. And that's not how it works.
There's probably like 3 or 4 legitimate teams in Northeast Louisiana, and yet there's 50 plus calling themselves team group company. Yeah.
And that's theirs. They can do whatever they want to do. So go back to rainmaker and drizzle.
Drizzle. All right. So he would always, Justin, he's such a funny guy, but he would always be like, you're not a rainmaker, you're a drizzle maker. Yeah. And he would call me, he'd be like, what's up, Drizzle? And so it has just been a long-standing job. Justin hadn't sold a piece of real estate in probably 3 years. And he, like, that's how he, like, when he comes and gives me a hug, he's like, hey, Drizzle Maker, how's it going?
Like, because this would have been back in, like, like, the first time I think I heard that was from you two was maybe 2016, 2017?
Wait.
2018, 2017, something like that. Like the first time I ever heard him referred or say anything about.
So
Drizzle,
I started
Drizzle.
the team in it would have been 2018 when Chuck gave me the nod that I could start a team.
I thought it was sooner than that. But okay, I guess that's right.
No, because it was. Yeah, no, it would have been. Because
it was only 2 years before the
I didn't start,
COVID.
Huh? Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, no, it was, because it was, I was being recruited by a team and I was heavily considering it. And so I had really thought about it. And then I decided to consult with your brother, Chuck, who was the OP of the region at that time. And so me and him, I sent him over the agreement and I talked to him, and he just called me and he laughed and he said, Harrison, he goes, you do whatever you want. He said, but you're not supposed to be on a team. And I said, okay, tell me what you think. And he said, you need to own a team. He said, you're the next team owner. You're the next big thing. And I was like, And he said, Chuck, I hit my unit count. Like, I have the qualifications, but I don't think I'm ready. And he goes, well, you're never ready till you go do it.
Yeah.
And that was, so I called the person, and I respected that person a lot. That person doesn't really care for me a whole lot, but I respect them. And told him, like, hey, I appreciate the offer, and I think I'm just going to be starting my own team. Yeah. And so, and then I fell forward a lot, and here we are.
That's the way it is. Yeah. If you're not failing forward, you're really not. You're not trying new things, because I've been thinking about, like, me getting back into running, me starting the coaching business, and even with you as my partner. Like, there are so many times that I'm just like, why am I doing this? This is stupid. This sucks. Right now, my legs are cramping. I only did 2 miles. It's a feet thing. It's not just. I mean, I am out of shape, but like, but I'm like, but if you're not in a little bit of discomfort,
and really
not discomfort forever or all the time, but
that takes me back to this saying, and this is religious, so you get to hear me blow F-bombs and be religious all at the same time. But it is that God doesn't call the qualified; He qualifies the called. And it was just one of those things where like Chuck was like, you need to go have faith in yourself.
Well, he
and
spoke.
You
He
need to
believed
go.
in you. He spoke into you, and he had already seen. Like he had. It's that reason why we talk about having a coach, mentor, things like that. Is because he had already seen this perspective.
I'm
you're getting
doing
a
the
different
activities.
perspective, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. And so, yeah. So there is. That's just like what's next.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, the other thing for anybody, if you're thinking about should I be on a team, should I be on my own, anything like that, or should I start my own business, or should I go find a business partner? You have business partners and lots of stuff.
Yeah.
So there is a book. I'm a big fan of telling people to read Rocket Fuel.
it's a great book. Holy cow, it's a great book.
And
I was afraid of what book you were going to say, but you nailed that one. That is a wonderful, wonderful book that will help you understand the dichotomy of partnership.
And like, so we kind of talked about, we touched on this a couple weeks ago, like who to partnership and why. And so that we're going to do, there's a few people in your world that I mentioned a book the other day that we're going to do like a book club with, which I need to get with you to get all that lined up. That might be our next one because a lot of people read it and they think it's great, but they don't realize like you can use that as a manual for like what meeting should you be having with your ops person, so it like there's so much big things.
Me and Amy read that together. That was one of that book actually helped me make my transition from the last director to Amy.
So now would be a great time to reread it because now y'all are at a different level.
Yeah, we're totally in a different place. Like Amy has really evolved her role in our company to where she is no longer the doer. She is the delegator. She's creating the checklist and managing the checklist rather than creating, managing, doing in it every day. So now she has a 30,000-foot view of the situation rather than being in the 24/7.
Yeah. Well, and this is, I think, for whatever it's worth, that's the next evolution of y'all's business. When during the day, and we've talked about this, but during the day, you're we talked about the different hats. You're the
which I still need to go buy those hats.
Yeah.
Like right now, I'm a listing agent. Right now, I'm an owner. Right now,
and so
whatever.
Because I mean, there would be. Anyways, we can go into that, but that's but yeah, so I think that could be a really cool piece for the next steps. I think that's the whole next level evolution for you and your businesses.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So just to wrap up the investment piece,
drizzle,
because we've only heard drizzle.
I love this. So if you are watching this video, we are looking to get our subscribers up to 1,000 by third quarter, and in the third quarter. And for anybody that has already subscribed, thank you so much. If you put in the comments, drizzle, we'll get you a Harrison Lilly t-shirt. You said we were getting merch.
I mean, allegedly. But I'll tell you what I will do. If we get to 500, I will give $5,000 to not Connor. I will give $5,000. I'll tell you what. If we get to 500 subscribers, I will give Connor $1,000. And I will give $5,000 to the 501(c)(3) of whose choice will it be? Pick somebody random. I was going to say my mom, but I know which one she'll make me go to. I want to do something for it. It's going to have to be in the parameters of women or children for me. So,
okay, let's talk about that next, or let's talk about it, and then we'll make the announcement next week.
Yeah.
I love that. And
so if we get to 500, Connor gets a bonus. Connor, like, put your face on camera real quick. They need to see how bad you need this. I mean, this guy currently like can't afford a barber to like trim his stalker stash. So
I've been growing this since the awards ceremony.
So we need to help him with that. And he huge props to Connor. This is not inside his scope to be here on Saturdays. He comes and gives us his time.
Yeah. Well, and I'm texting him after 5:00 yesterday, and he responded, but I'm like, anytime I'm texting people at night I'm completely okay with.
You can text me Monday. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
But like it was, and half the stuff I probably send him, it's like, what? And he'll call me if he doesn't get it, and we'll figure it out. But yeah, so I love that. So, but I still come back to the drizzle because I want that to catch on. So
yeah. Anyway,
you will get, if you put it there, I promise you,
Olivia will figure out how to spend my money without me knowing. And
no, but I will figure out something, whether it's a drawing or something, or maybe we have you on, or maybe you're thinking about investing and you have questions for Harrison. I'll make sure he does a Q&A with you or something, but I'll make it worth your while if you put drizzle in the comments.
Yeah, we only made it this far into investing today. That is a small portion. What I can tell you is that I make more money off of investing and get more opportunity off of investing than I do the real estate company, than I do any of my partnerships, than I do any of my money in the market. Investing is quite literally like there's a half of my income, which is from businesses and stuff, and investing is the other half. So you're talking about all this other stuff that I'm doing that takes all my time, and I probably spend 5 hours a week as an investor. 5 hours.
And yet that's your biggest.
Yeah. So I like last year, and again, 5 hours a week off of learning how to make my money work for me. I made an additional $250,000 income.
Oh. So
unless you're the IRS, then I made nothing.
That's well, and keep in mind.
Money.
Well, and Scooter said this too. Like when he first got into the investment, right? It was he talking and asking questions, but he had his day job. You have your day job as a realtor. And let me ask you, because I would like to leave them with, because like you said, we barely touched the surface on investing. What is 1, 2, 3 books or podcasts or what is something that they should read, watch, listen to, go to? You
want to hear something really funny?
Okay.
I have never read a book about real estate investing.
Really?
Ever. I didn't even realize I had not until you asked that question. Maybe I need to do that. However, someone said that most of my knowledge comes from just hard knocks.
Just doing the deal?
Yeah, no, I went and sat down with a banker and I was like, hey, I don't know how any of this works. Can you just
okay? Well, that's perfect. So go, like if you're thinking about investing, go sit down with a banker.
Yeah.
And say, hey, I'm thinking about doing it. What do I need to know? And then next week, walk into it. Maybe that's your 5 hours for
bank.
5.
Do not walk into a region to talk about investing, please.
Go to local banks. But maybe that's your 5 hours for the first month is every week. Go and just go talk to them. Maybe that's your first step.
Yeah. And then I just failed through a few deals and made some money. I remember one time I'd only made $500 off of a flip house. And I was really upset about it. I mean, I was like, I don't think I'm gonna do this ever again. I called a gentleman. His name is Ron Scott. He's a very well-known investor in the area. He's a great guy. I have a lot of respect for him. And
super nice.
Yeah, man. When I call him, that dude was in Africa the other day, and he was like, "Mr. Lilly, can I help you?" I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm in Africa." I was like, "Why did you answer my phone call?" He's like, "Well, I don't know. It was actually an investment. Yeah. I was looking for like $1 million for an investment for somebody else, and I was going to get a commission off of it. So I was calling my short list, and he was so nice to take my call, even though he was hunting like a rare antelope or something like that.
Well, I was at a gym class one time, and you first time you ever go to a gym class, I don't know about you, but me, like it's loud and it feels weird. You don't know anybody. You're not really doing these steps right, all this stuff, and he was the first person, and at this point, like he didn't know me, and that was like he was one of the first people. It was like, "Hey, welcome to the class. We're so glad to have you." And I'm thinking like, and at first, you almost would have thought he was like the leader of the class or he owned the gym or anything. No, he's just a nice guy and wanted to make sure that this new person felt comfortable. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, and so I called him and I was just letting him know that I was down about the deal, and I was like, "Man, I just flipped my first house, and I just thought that I was going to make more money and." Expenses got in the way. I didn't sell it for what I thought I was going to sell it for. And he hit me with a few pieces of nuggets. But the main thing that he said, and I'll never forget this, and I've been passing this knowledge on. He told me this 6-7 years ago, and I've been saying this to 10 new investors every year.
Yeah.
Because it is a nugget. And he said, "Harrison, did you go to college?" I said, "Yes, sir, I did." And he said, "Did you get some student loans?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "So you lost money to go to college?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "You gave him your time, your money, you sacrifice?" I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "You made $500. He said, "Did you learn anything?" I said, "Man, I learned a lot. Man, that's my first deal that I financed. I learned, that I left holding costs out of my pro forma. I learned, I found, I had to go through 2 painters and people, and they didn't do a good job, and I had to go redo the work." And he's like, "Man, how much did you learn?" And he said, and I said, "Man, I really did learn a lot." And he said, "And you made money?" He said, $500. He goes, You got paid $500 to go to college? Man, that sounds like a pretty good deal to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit. Change the way you look at things.
And the things you look at change. Yes.
And that is a great way to end this podcast.
Yes.
Guys, thank you for watching. Let's go.
Oh, so we do have to do something because we gotta.
What are we doing?
I don't know. We gotta scoot over. I'm wearing shorts. We started doing these with this, and then let's go, right? But we haven't been able to do it because we're awkward now.
We do our clap at the beginning. Now we go for Connor.
Yeah.
So it's like, let's go. All right. See you guys.